Hear me out. I think Captain Sisko just created a Star Trek wormhole for a franchise that has spent nearly 6 decades exploring the farthest reaches of space and the inner recesses of humanity. Star Trek still has a knack for surprise. And if you've been paying close attention to recent canonical tie-ins, cryptic interviews, and some of the subtler narrative moves in Paramount's interconnected Trek era, you might have noticed something extraordinary: the unmistakable gravitational pull of a new cosmic mystery. Hear me out, because this isn't just another wild fan theory. There are legitimate clues, hidden references, and narrative breadcrumbs that all point to one tantalizing possibility. Captain Benjamin Sisko, the emissary of the prophets, may have just created, or at least catalyzed, the birth of another Star Trek wormhole. It sounds audacious, but audacity is what made Sisko one of the franchise's most compelling captains in the first place. Let's break it down. Sisko's unfinished story. When Deep Space Nine ended in 1999, Sisko's arc concluded not with a traditional retirement or a heroic death, but with transcendence. He joined the prophets in the Celestial Temple, living outside linear time, beyond the comprehension of most corporeal beings. The show framed his departure as both an ending and a beginning, promising that he would return someday. In the decades since, Trek has revisited nearly every corner of its canon, from Picard's late-life adventures to Janeway's mentoring of young cadets in Prodigy. Yet Sisko's fate has remained mostly untouched. That alone makes him narratively potent, a beloved captain whose story still feels incomplete. The 2022 Star Trek comic line published by IDW, which features Sisko returning from the Celestial Temple with a mission from the prophets, reignited speculation about what exactly he's been up to. This isn't just nostalgia bait. This is a clear move to reposition Sisko as an active cosmic player again. And the comic's first arcs already hint at phenomena that feel suspiciously wormhole adjacent. Wormholes, Trek's shortcuts through time, space, and storytelling. Wormholes aren't new to Star Trek. They're one of the franchise's most evocative science fiction concepts, embodying both the wonder of faster-than-light travel and the spiritual metaphors Trek loves to play with. The Byron wormhole, discovered in DS9's pilot Emissary, wasn't just a shortcut to the Gamma Quadrant. It was a literal gateway to non-linear aliens and destiny itself. The Barzan wormhole in TNG was unstable but hinted at the lure of interstellar commerce. Even Voyager had its share of wormhole episodes, each promising and denying a quick route home. But the Byron wormhole stood apart because of Sisko's involvement. He wasn't just a Starfleet officer exploiting a natural phenomenon. He was its guardian, interpreter, and, ultimately, its bridge. When you realize how deeply entwined Sisko is with wormholes as a concept, the notion of him creating one doesn't seem so far-fetched. The prophets and the physics of destiny. One of DS9's boldest moves was reframing the prophets not simply as wormhole aliens, but as beings for whom time, space, and causality are fluid. Their wormhole is less a tunnel through normal space than an expression of their own existence. It's a temple, a home, and an extension of their consciousness. During the Dominion War, Sisko's connection to the prophets deepened. In Sacrifice of Angels, they literally removed an entire Dominion fleet from linear space at his behest. In The Reckoning, they prepared him for a cosmic showdown. By the time he leaves corporeal existence, Sisko is more than just their emissary, he's their partner. If the prophets can manipulate space-time so completely, why couldn't Sisko, as their emissary and now a being of their realm, do the same? A wormhole would be a natural byproduct of their power. And if Sisko's mission involves safeguarding or reshaping the galaxy, creating a new stable corridor through space might be exactly what's required. Clues in the new Trek era. The current Trek landscape has been careful with continuity. Lower Decks and Prodigy wink at legacy characters. Picard delivered full-blown reunions. Discovery took big swings with the future. Yet Sisko has remained mostly in the background until now. The IDW comics, officially branded as canon adjacent, are our first big clue. They depict Sisko on a mission to stop godlike beings from destabilizing reality itself. In one issue, he and his crew encounter anomalies described as corridors of probability that resemble wormholes but function more like intentional constructs. Meanwhile, in live-action Trek, subtle references keep cropping up. A passing mention of celestial gateways in Discovery Season 4. the reappearance of Byron religious symbols in lower decks. Even a recent Star Trek Online update titled Resurgence of the Emissary non-canon, but often a testbed for ideas revolves around hidden wormhole networks seeded by the prophets. Individually, these might be Easter eggs. Taken together, they form a pattern. The franchise is priming audiences to think about wormholes and Sisko in the same breath again. What a new wormhole would mean for Star Trek. If Sisko has indeed created a new wormhole, the implications are enormous, both in universe and for the franchise's storytelling. Want a new frontier without a new ship? Rather than invent yet another lost starship or contrived anomaly to justify exploration, a new wormhole would open organic access to uncharted space. It's the perfect Trek device, a door, not a detour. To a spiritual sequel to DS9. A wormhole tied to Sisko would thematically echo DS9 without simply remaking it. Instead of a fixed station at its mouth, maybe Starfleet deploys a mobile diplomatic corps or a Federation Byron joint fleet to manage the gateway. 3. The emissary as architect. Sisko was always a reluctant spiritual figure. Creating a wormhole would make him an active shaper of destiny, elevating him to a role more akin to a demigod. How would Starfleet handle that? How would Bajorans? This tension is pure Trek drama. For an interconnected Trek universe, current Trek shows are increasingly cross-pollinating. Characters and references leap between centuries. A Sisko-engineered wormhole could even bridge eras or timelines, serving as a narrative transporter for the franchise itself. Imagine a strange New Worlds crossover where Pike's Enterprise stumbles into Sisko's new corridor. But would Sisko do it? Sisko's moral compass has always been complex. This is the man who signed off on deception in the pale moonlight, yet agonized over it in his log. He's capable of playing God but prefers to remain human. Creating a wormhole, an act that could alter trade, diplomacy, and power balances, wouldn't be something he'd do lightly. But if the prophets tasked him with safeguarding reality, and if a wormhole was the best way to do it, he'd rise to the challenge. In fact, his very reluctance makes the idea more believable. Sisko wouldn't create a wormhole for glory. He'd do it because the galaxy needed it. The metatextual angle. Trek needs another big swing. Beyond the in-universe logic, there's a metatextual reason this theory feels right. Star Trek thrives on bold reinvention. The original series gave us warp speed. Next Generation gave us the Borg. DS9 gave us serialized war stories and wormhole aliens. The current era, though visually lavish, sometimes feels like it's circling familiar ground. A new wormhole tied to Sisko could be Trek's next mythic pillar, a narrative engine powerful enough to launch multiple shows, comics, and crossovers. It also honors Avery Brooks, whose portrayal of Sisko remains iconic. Bringing him back, even in a limited capacity or through voice/CG, would thrill fans and cement his captaincy as not just important in the 1990s but foundational to Trek's ongoing story. A wormhole of possibilities. So where does that leave us? With tantalizing hints and a ton of open space,